Yo, yo, yo. Hello, my vile minion of fitness, health, and all things common sense. I'm back here with another episode of the Lenko Show. It's me, Alex Lankowski, and today, what we are now, we're on episode 83. It properly in the wind up to Christmas now. So it's currently 10 past 7 on the 21st of December, Thursday night. I've had a wonderful day and I feel absolutely gassed. And this has been my rest day. Which has led me down the path of today. I'm going to be talking to you about a little bit, I don't know, I suppose a little bit of reflection stuff on GB American football and what we've done this year, the trials that we had last weekend, which was pretty awesome, getting over 300 players down to compete and put themselves out in front of the coaches to try and be part of the squad for next year, which just shows we're having a pretty sick impact on the game in the UK, or well, hopefully it's evidence of that. So I'll be reflecting on that because I was there for the full day, which was splendid. And also, we're going to dive in a little bit into kind of my current training and then a little top training tip, which I've been, I suppose, credited with. I don't know. Anyway, I recorded a few bits for social media and YouTube a little while ago about overcoming isometrics, how to use them, what exercises to do, and how they can be extremely useful for us in the sports performance world, or even if you're just in the realm of wanting maximal strength benefits, then they can be incredibly useful in that sense. So I'll touch on that first, actually. So overcoming isometrics, basically the fundamental principle is that you are pushing, you are pulling, you're putting maximal effort into something which is not going to move, period. So you can perform isometric holds where you eventually um you resist the weight for as long as you can, and then you can push out of it. So that's just a time and attention based rep. Whereas overcoming isometrics, we're actually talking about if you were to, rather than having any weight on the bar, if you were to squat the bar up into the pins and the pins are pushing back down and you're essentially trying to lift the rig out of the floor, it is never going to move. They're the kind of isometrics that we're talking about here. So you're literally putting maximal force, unable to move the weight. So there's no change in joint angle, there's no change in muscle length. It's just pure central nervous system banging it in there. So that's the technical term as well, banging it in there. So I mentioned about how you can use these in your warm up. You can use them as a great little stimulus before you do your strength work, or indeed, especially if you are an in-season athlete right now. So I'm thinking a lot of my footballers, a lot of you guys will be using these, is you're actually going to use them for your main strength exercise. If you think about the amount of reps that you're going to be doing day in, day out, if you're training a couple of times a week, if you're playing a couple of games a week, which we know that the Christmas period is incredibly busy for it, they can actually be really, really good to hit that stimulus without getting the same level of wear and tear on the muscles, joints, and then the soreness and inflammation that tends to come with a relatively hard workout. You're not going to have the negative side effects of that. So you get all the benefits and minimal side effects, which means you can also then kind of bin off some of the accessory exercises. And I suppose this is why I'm also going to be talking a little bit about my training at the minute as well, where it's about essentially balancing things, cutting things down, doing, in a way, doing less so that you can do more. So, for instance, most days this week, apart from today, I'm on a rest day today. Deliberate. I was even told by my watch, my Garmin device, told me that I could have a rest day today. Um, I'm running most days, and then I'm in the gym in the afternoon and in the evening, where my legs might be a little bit fatigued, the body might be a little bit tired. I can hit a normal, regular upper body session, still get the volume in there. But when it comes to the training legs, it's a case of picking so the two, three, maybe four or five exercises that are a priority to do, which often involve some form of jumping or Olympic lift. So if I was to pick yesterday's, for example, I did hang cleans, front squats. They were both 6 sets of three. Then, which was quite good actually, it worked really, really well because the hang cleans, basically built up to the start of my front squat weight, so I can front squat a lot heavier than I can hang clean for repeated reps. So that kind of linked together really, really well. And then after that, very, very simply, barbell good mornings, 4 sets of 12 to 15 reps, plus GHD sit-ups, 4 sets, 15 to 20 reps. Done. Super duper simple. Plus, I think it was about maybe, it was about 45 minutes running close to 9K, maybe somewhere between 8 and 9 kilometers covered on the ground, getting loads of steps in, and ultimately doing that in a relatively low heart rate zone to make sure that I can somewhat recover, and I'm actually getting the aerobic benefits from that. So I'm not looking at massive lung busting efforts, which is what enables me to actually go day after day after day after day, rather than beating yourself up into a hole where your shins are stiff, your knees are sore, your ankles are hurting. And this is kind of the issue that everyone, or the trap everyone falls into when they start running, is they just go out the door 100 miles an hour. Always has to be 5K, or it always has to be 10K. It has to be a long one. And even before you get out the door, like some people I know, that's a struggle, because you beat yourself up in your own head first by filling yourself with dread about how far you're actually going to try and run. And it just puts you off completely, especially if the weather is like it has been today, where we've got a bit of a storm coming in, and there's a lot of wind, it's wet, it's cold, it's just dreary and really not very appetizing. So it's quite difficult to actually drag yourself out in those circumstances. So make it easy for yourself. Target a slow 20 to 40 minute plod. Make it achievable, make it really, really simple, because as long as you get yourself out the door, say that you're going to do less, and then once you get going, your engine might dictate, oh, do you know what? I'm only doing a short run, so I might run it a little bit quicker now. I'm feeling good. Or I'm feeling really good. I've got a bit of extra time. I'm going to go a little bit further. I'm going to do a different route. Or there are many, many ways to make it work. But the number one thing is you have to get out the door, and then you have to be able to do it frequently. And kind of that's how I'm balancing my training at the moment. So yeah, my current training, I'm getting out running most mornings. I would say 5, 6 days a week. And then the training split in the gym is upper body, lower body, upper body, lower body, upper body, lower body. And I will typically try and do my long run on the same day as an upper body day. And then the following day will be a lower body day. And you kind of have to bear in mind that obviously if you've just run 10, 15K, maybe a little bit more, your legs might be a little bit sore, you might be a bit fatigued. So you just need to make sure you warm up properly. And I need to make sure that I'm actually not trying to kill myself in the gym by chasing PBs and 1RMs, because that would be a really good way to balls up the training. If you've already got a little bit of soreness, a little bit of fatigue, you don't just want to dig an incredibly deep hole. You want to do things that are going to be productive long term. So loads of core work, plenty of lower limb stability and strength work, and a little, like I think, just say a little bit of stretching now and again. But if you're working through full range of movement anyway, yeah, stretching with like weightlifting and performing split squats, deep lunges, lateral lunges, and exercising in a proper manner is actually just as beneficial as stretching, if not better. So again, I'll come back to the overcoming isometrics. I mentioned about how you can implement them in your training, in your warm up, or as part of one of your main stimulus exercises. The other benefit of it, of course, is like you don't have to necessarily go as simple as a bilateral squat stance, pushing up into pins. You don't have to go as simple as a deadlift, pulling up into the pins, or same on bench. The benefit for you as an athlete is that if you are in a split stance, you can do the same thing. You can put yourself in a position where there is single leg dominance. You can put yourself in a position where you're manipulating your body angle, leaning forward. You can change the height of the pins. If you've got a specific joint angle where you want to develop a bit more strength, you can set the pins and the height for the bar at that particular angle as well. So you can work through very, very specific ranges of movement, and you actually get a bit of strength benefit. I think it's about 10 to 15 degrees either side of where you're holding and where you're performing the isometric. So I certainly do recommend, absolutely 100%, if you're a performance athlete, you need to be including overcoming isometrics in your training because they don't take long. You don't need loads of sets. You could put 3 sets of 3 reps, each with a 5 to 10 second hold, and then a little bit of time in between. And that would give you a little bit of a kickstart. So make a start on that, add those into your training if you've not got them in already. Now, I mentioned that today for me is pretty much a bit of a rest day. I've got Garmin congratulated me the other day. I'm in the top 97%, or I've run 97%. Yeah, this is how tired I am. It's a good job it's a rest day. Jesus. I have run further than 97% of the other Garmin users. And considering that I don't normally actually run that much, and I've actually, for some reason, I've taken a bit of a liking to it. I don't know whether it's just because I'm out with the dog and it's a bit of freedom for him. He can run around off lead and chase me, and we can play a few games doing that. It's good fun. And that was kind of a reason why I started it, just to get him out a bit more, get his fitness levels up. And it's amazing how much of a difference it feels like it's making, like in terms of my actual general fitness levels, alertness, even just day-to-day productivity, getting out doing that in the morning and then being able to train again in the afternoon. It just, for me, it feels like I'm ticking things off the list and I'm just doing stuff that I want to be doing anyway. So I'm enjoying that. And the only reason I think I'm enjoying that to start with is because I started low, slow, steady, not pushing it. Like I'm never gonna necessarily set myself a target of, right, I'm gonna run 20K today. I have to run 20K. If I don't run 20K, I'll be really upset with myself, because that's essentially just punishing yourself. For what? For what reason? Like, what is the purpose that you're actually going out running in the first place? For me, it's literally just to exercise the dog. Go out, low heart rate, good health benefits, general fitness, improve your VO2 max, give yourself a better chance of living a longer, healthier life, and you're ultimately playing an active role in saving your own life further down the line. It's a future investment. So that's me bragging. That's me bragging. So anyway, today we've had our rest day. So it's a rest day for me. I've had clients this morning. Then we've actually been out to a very, very posh, fancy, let's say posh, very, very, very fancy place in Manchester called 20 Stories, where we had our lunch, which was absolutely superb. And I would certainly recommend it. So 20 Stories, Manchester. Little plug for those guys. Recommend going there. I don't even know why I wanted to brag about that and tell you about it, but if you're in Manchester, if you're knocking around, go and book yourself a table. So that was our rest day. It essentially involved, I don't know how many steps we've done, so let's have a little look. So yeah, even on a non-active day, I'm currently up at 8,500. That will get topped up again before I knock things on the head and go to sleep. My intention after this podcast is to sit downstairs and read my book, which I will be telling you more about in a future episodes, because it is called Unsafe Thinking. And when it comes to ideas for being creative, a little bit on mindset, there's a bit on courage and various other bits in there that I think are very, very useful. I will be talking about those. There's some quite good ideas, but not for today, because I want to get through this, talk to you about the GB trials and make that the priority. So I appreciate I've just burned a bit of time there telling you about that, but hopefully you found the overcoming isometrics tip nice and useful. So, looking back on GB this year, I suppose the reason that I'm doing this, I'm talking about this now, is because in the new year, I do want to get some of my teammates on here just to ask them about their experiences and give the rest of you guys a bit of an insight as to what it's like. I know we've had Luke Neal, we've had Matt Davies recently, both talking about this. If you've not listened to it yet, Jason Scott was on it. Pretty much towards the start of when I started recording these. And he's one of the earlier episodes. He is the GB head coach. He is the boss man. He's the one in charge. So definitely well worth listening to. And I'm going to try and get him on at some point in the future when he's not as busy. But it's been a pretty sweet year. We've won both games. So we played against France first, which was in Coventry. It was a very cold, wet, windy Coventry. It was horrible, absolutely disgusting conditions to play a game in. And after that, we travelled out to Denmark. Should I also mention that I made the winning kick? I did the winning kick. Yeah, I kicked a winning point um, in that France game, which was pretty cool. But I was a bit annoyed that I had an earlier kick chalked off for well, I say unknown reasons, debatable reasons. Um, and then the entire irony that I think I might have mentioned already on the podcast of having to kick an extra point to win the game. Probably one of the biggest games I've ever played in, and the kick to win it is an extra point, which I can probably do with my eyes closed wearing Wellington boots. So bit of a I don't know, a bit of an anticlimax. I don't know. It didn't matter. The only thing that mattered was that we won that game. So we beat France. See you, Frenchie. And then we went on to play against Denmark in Copenhagen on their patch. And we did a job on them. So I think we were about 7-0 up at half time. And then we turned it on a bit in the second half and started putting a load of points on the board. So we'll definitely be speaking to some of the other players about those games. But overall, if you're listening to this and you're thinking, don't want to be part of it, what can I expect for next year in 2024? What is it like at the training camps? What are the days like? Well, here's your insight. Fucking tough, which is exactly what it should be. So each year we kind of start the cycle or rotation, depending on what terminology you want to use. I don't like the word rotation because it feels like we're just people in a revolving door, and it's just when you get kicked out, you get kicked out. That's your time. Off you go. See you later. We're done with you. I don't like that, but yeah, rotation cycle. Bleh. Um, so we started in January again. We had a big trial in January last year. I think probably similar numbers, but maybe not even as many. Um, where it was the full day, multiple sessions through the day, well organized, well run by the coaches. We're based out of the David Ross Sports Village on Nottingham University's campus, which is absolutely perfect for us because I want to say there's ample parking, but every time we seem to train there, there's a fucking open day, which is brilliant. So end up having to scrimp around for parking spots. And yeah, that's the key to get there early. Got to be there early. So that's where we're based most days. And normally when we practice, we will have 2 sessions in the day. So we'll be there first thing in the morning. We'll do the registration stuff, everything like that. And then pretty much straight on the field for either 2 to 3 hours, bit of time for lunch and classroom. So lunch and classroom, it's a working lunch is what we call it. So there's no time wasted. There is absolutely no time for fucking around, playing stupid games. And I want to say, I was going to say enjoying yourself. I mean, the entire thing's fun. I like it. I don't mind suffering. But there's no time for getting lazy. If you get lazy, you'll get left behind, 100% guaranteed. So it's a working lunch where you look through the film of the morning or various other things. Might be looking at playing stalls for the afternoon, opponents coming up, anything the coaches want to look at. Normally, as special teams, I just sit around with the other kickers, eat lunch, talk about the weather, and look at the football or anything else that's going on. But I feel like we're going to step things up again this year and make things a bit more in depth, a bit more detailed. So looking forward to that. Actually, very excited for it this year. Then once we finish the working lunch, on a full belly, make your way back up to the sports facilities and get back out in your kit for the afternoon. And it's another long, sometimes 2 hour session, maybe more. But certainly it's at least 2 hours. That's typically the length of the practice. So it is 2 a days practice on a Saturday, and then typically end up practicing on the Sunday as well for the Manchester Titans or your club sides. So it's a lot. The volume is a lot. And the days themselves are just long. Just being on your feet for that amount of time, wandering around, running around, even if you weren't wearing pads and a helmet and you were running through plays, that's tough. If you are wearing pads and helmet and hitting things, or in my case, kicking things repeatedly with maximal effort, it is, I want to say, a proper punch up. It's a proper fight to keep going. I think probably the best way to think about it. Yeah, like there are days where afterwards, or even just driving home, like my leg, my hip will just feel like it's on fire. Like it feels like it's hanging off. Sleeping that night is always going to be uncomfortable, and I'm not even playing a proper position. I'm not even playing a proper position. I'm not getting hit. I'm not getting run over. I'm not having to tackle anybody. I'm not having to put my head where it hurts anymore, which is nice. I don't mind that because I've had too many concussions. It's just it's a tough day. So you have to be physically fit. You have to be very robust. You have to be able to tolerate and meet the demands of the training. And not only that, but you also have to perform. Like you have to be able to do the job. And bear in mind, in our typical training squad, we've got I think about up to 110 people, 100 to 110 people, and you're trying to make a squad of 45. So more than one in two people are not going to be there, which the standard is high and it's only getting better. It's only getting better. So I suppose that means that GB football is actually in a pretty good position. And a lot of the players that we've had come through the program have now gone off to play for teams in Europe. So we've had, oh, I think off the top of my head, I don't know. I can't announce this for him. No, I'm going to actually get him on the podcast and speak to him myself and he can do it. But guys who've gone off and signed for teams in Europe at the minute, doing an awesome job and progressing themselves to the next level. Guys who've gone to the CFL Combine, this is kind of the stepping stone that we need it to be. We need to be able to push guys through to the next level. So it's absolutely sick to see that is actually happening. And ultimately, the standard of the team is improving and improving and improving. And I think the way that that's happened is purely because of the culture being right. Like to to be part of this team, you have to be willing to sacrifice yourself for the benefit of everybody else in a weird way. It's not just about you doing your job, it's can you be a good person, can you be reliable, can you simply be a good teammate. Like that's probably one of the most important measures. It's not necessarily just how fast you can run, how well you can catch, or how hard you hit. It's are you a good teammate as well. And that absolutely fucking matters, especially if you're in a tight knit if you're in a traveling squad and you're going away with a handful of people who would quite happily beat themselves up and take a punch for you. You've got to be willing to be that kind of guy yourself. So yes, you have to be. I suppose you have to be an all-round athlete. You have to be prepared and willing to do anything and everything. You have to do the work on the training field. You have to be in your playbook. You need to know exactly what you're doing when you step foot on the field. No room for fuck ups at this level. In a game where the quarters are only 12 minutes and your game time is going to be limited, and bear in mind the opposition, the people you're playing against are going to be good enough to capitalize on any small mistake, any small weakness. That's what happens as you progress through the levels. People find the weakness, they find the mistakes, and they start to squeeze and push pressure on it. So you have to be an incredibly good, talented, gifted, hardworking, mentally driven, very focused athlete in the first place. And then you also have to be a great teammate as well. So no room for ducks. No room for ducks. You cannot be one of those guys. So I think looking back on the trial from last weekend, we obviously I said we had about 310 people turning up. It's interesting from my viewpoint. So me and Sam Bloomfield, the quarterback, were delegated the very important task of tearing up the bits of tape and writing everybody's names on them for each session. which was quite tough on my fingers. Sam's wrist is already broken anyway, so that doesn't matter. Um, and it's interesting, like after each session started, after we'd done the warm up as captains, that we walked off, we got the boards again, and you can see who from the session hasn't turned up. So people are registering, paying money to not bother coming along. What the fuck is going on through someone's head when you think, oh yeah, I'll register for the GB trials? You think if you really want to be part of that, you really want to register, you would fully commit and not just turn up on the day, but you make sure you've done all the preparation in advance to give yourself the best possible chance of performing well and also getting valuable feedback. And I know for a fact that not all of these people that missed the training session were injured, which would be a valid excuse. And even if you are, I would say turn up anyway, be around the coaches, be around the squad, see what's going on. If you can't participate, typically the coaches at this point will already have some form of information on you. If you're going to be good enough for the squad, they'll already know something about you. One of the coaches will know you, because that's one of the benefits of this coaching staff, is they are so widespread from a variety of programs across the country, across divisions, across university football and adult senior football, even from junior backgrounds. A lot of them will know guys from there. So we're pulling through younger players as well. And ultimately, it's going to be a test of, are you what we think you are? Are you what your reputation kind of hints at? And what kind of person are you in the process as well? Like, are you a bit of a dick, or are you a decent bloke? Are you a good one a good character to have around? And if the answer to those questions is yes, then cool. Can you make a few plays? And if you can make a few plays, cool. Come through to the next trial, come through to the next session. So you kind of have to pass that mini test in the first place, but understand people are already aware of you. So the only real way of, if you're going to have a chance, is if you have a complete howler on the day, and in which case sometimes coaches might even understand, but ultimately you do have to be able to perform under pressure. But if you're a complete dick and you arse around in drills, you don't listen, don't take feedback, or you're just a bit of a nuisance, or ultimately you can deselect yourself by wandering off to the physios with a minor irritation, a minor injury. Don't be that person. I know some people do get seriously popped at the weekend, but for for the majority, I think you always have to be willing to fight through any of that pain and any of that irritation, unless you think it's going to cause you serious harm further down the line. And it's always very notable when there is a special teams drill around, like, let's say kickoff, for example, and people start walking off to the physios or getting things checked and having muscular strains. Like, everybody notices, coaches notice it. They write it down. They've got clipboards. They've got your names. They know. They absolutely know. So you need to be very mindful that you don't want to deselect yourself by dropping out of, I would say, donkey drills, hard work drills, where it is literally there's minimal skill, there's minimal effort, it's just guts. What you can do is actually highlight yourself in the opposite way. And my advice to anybody in this situation is, don't just do the drill, do it really, really well, and start to gas up a few of the guys around you who might be struggling. Because if you can be a leader in that situation and help to maintain the quality of the drill, keep the drill high, keep the session buzzing, because this is, again, this is a notable difference from someone that's just kind of standing around, milling around, being part of the day, helping to run a few different things. Each session has a different, should we say, call it a vibe. Each session has a different vibe with it. Each session has a different tempo, a different sound, a different feel. Like, you can walk around on the field and you think, fucking hell, yeah, like this is a GB practice. Or you walk around on the field and you go, it's a bit flat, isn't it? And you want to make sure, like, whichever session you're in, ultimately your session is the one where it feels like a GB practice and you are part of controlling that. The coaches can only give so much, and it's up to you to ultimately push that and push the tempo and try and lift the people around you. And if you can do that, again, coaches notice, we notice as captains, be a leader, highlight yourself for the correct reasons. So I think that's pretty much my main advice based on that. And coming into the new year, out of those 300 odd people, I have no idea how many people have got callbacks, but we've got people from that trial period who will be back, and then we've got people from the previous squad who maybe didn't make the 45-man roster or the 75-man. I'm not too sure which one it is. They will be also at that trial, and then from there the coaches are going to pick who they want to come through to be part of the next squad for the calendar year, really, which is quite a good one coming up. So I'm not going to drop any dates, but there's quite a few games, quite a few opportunities, and there are some other very, very exciting opportunities, which I'm not too sure if I can speak about them yet, but I certainly will be as they come around. So make sure you stay tuned with me on social media for that. Stay tuned on Instagram. There's some stuff happening in January and Feb. I'm going to try and document a little bit more of it, just for my own sake. So keep your eyes and ears peeled for that. If you've got any questions on it, give me a shout. If you're interested in getting involved, whether it's being part of the program as like a coach, a player, wondering what's lying ahead further down the line. If you're a media person and you like the sound of it, I think there is the potential we might be doing some more things around practices and kind of getting more and more people involved, because we are desperate. I mean, we need fucking sponsorship. Like it's very expensive. I think as an athlete, you can expect to pay, I think probably last year for me was a shade over £2,000 on being part of the program. And fortunately for me, for the Denmark trip, I had nearly £600 worth of sponsorship for that trip. And we need to try and get more sponsorship for next year to take care of training and games, and ultimately trying, because I don't think we get any funding from the government for the GB program. We get some support from the national governing body, but it is an expensive sport to be part of. The training equipment, even as a kicker, a set of kicking sticks, which is essentially a tripod, you'd be looking at paying 45 quid for that in the UK, maybe more. And that's like the first one that I actually made. This was brilliant. I did a proper DIY job. I was a student in Loughborough. I walked down to the local B&Q. I got three bits of PVC pipe and a roll of white electrical tape, and I kind of taped a bit together, put a load of glue around it, molded it into the kind of position I needed it to be in to stay fixed, to be able to hold a ball up, and then put a ton more tape around it. And I took that with me to my first ever Tamworth Phoenix training camp. I don't still have it, but did the job. So yeah, essentially for doing that kind of job, you end up paying 45 quid for something like that. And then obviously on the day, you've got travel expenses of petrol, public transport, food, drinks, and possibly hotels. Then, especially for games, obviously flights, accommodation, hotels, the trip itself, additional training gear, additional match gear. You're looking at potentially paying more money for that as well. So it can get to be a very expensive thing. So any support we can get is more than welcome. And as a program, I'm sure, I know for a fact, we are definitely doing quite a few more things next year to try and boost the optics or the environment, the experience for people that do contribute to the coffers of the GB program. So yes, we are certainly looking to push that. Now, I think I'm going to wrap it up there today. I was going to potentially touch on it. I'm going to save this for future episodes, but if you have found any of the training stuff useful, if you've got any other questions on GB, I'll be speaking to the other captains at some point on this podcast. I want to get them on and speak to them and just have a chat and just find out their perspective on GB, and we'll just have a big chat over everything. But if you have found anything useful, if you're interested in how to manage your own training load, what to do over Christmas, that was going to be what I was going to talk about, what to do over the festive period. But I know everyone on social media is going to be doing that over the next few days. So fuck it. If you've got any direct questions, feel free to ask me. My door is open. I am not closing slots before January. If you want to train and you want to work hard and you're willing to put the effort in, get in touch with me. Do it now. Don't wait any longer. We can get kickstarted straight away. I'll be launching a couple of things coming up over the next year. I've got quite a few positive things in the pipeline that I'm working on. So, yes, if you are interested, if you do want assistance with your training, if you want to get on my online coaching, I am available for that. The doors aren't closing. I will be working through Christmas. I am self-employed. I'm not taking any direct time off. I'm having a couple of days off over Christmas where I've already got things planned in, but I will still be doing some business related activities interspersed and dotted in just because it's what I fucking do. That's my life. That's my lifestyle. It's the way I operate. That's what I do day in, day out, little things constantly. So yes, if you've got any questions, if you want to get started with training, if you want to ask me anything, if you wanted me to record a piece of content for social media, drop me a message. I'll make sure I get it done. Till next time, that concludes episode 83. I will speak to you again very, very soon. Have a wonderful Christmas, and I'll catch you before the new year. Take care, guys. Lenko out.